It is truly an honor and a privilege to welcome you all this evening to the Willie McGowan Banquet. Tonight's event is a little more special in that we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of this wonderful event. Tonight we're honoring the legacy of our unsung heroes, and so before we get started, can we give a hand to the committee that's put this event on this evening? At this time, I'm going to ask if everyone would stand as we receive the Murfreesboro Fire Department's Honor Guard, as they present the colors for this evening. Let us recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. About face. Forward, march.
You may be seated. Our program will proceed as is printed. At this time, we'll have the occasion for Mrs. Margaret Davis, the Friends of Bradley, an original board member of the Bradley Academy Historical Association.
The Willie McGowan had the visionary to the idea to save Old Bradley and to design a museum to home the African American history and culture of the Murfreesboro-Rutherford County Committee in the state of Tennessee. Mr. McGowan was a member of the E.A. Davis Elks Lodge number 1138, which had a 501c3 tax-exempt status with the city of Murfreesboro, so the museum could be established. In 1986, the plans began with the assistance of Mr. Fred Beneby, Mrs. Myrtle Lloyd, and Mrs. Dora Rucker. There were other community leaders organized and volunteered to collect, design, and research African American history in Rutherford County. With the assistance of the U.S. Congressman Boyd Gordon, Senator Bill Ketchum, Attorney Larry Brandon, MTSU Public History Department Director Dr. Huda, and MTSU Center for the Historical Reservation. The museum took shape and artifacts were donated by many community members. Mr. Willie McGowan and other members' hard work paid off, and the museum opened its doors in 1986. After 10 years of seeking funds and restoration of the old building, after his death, the banquet's name was changed and it was established yearly as a major fundraiser in the spring of his memory, and we hope the legacy goes on.
This time we'll have the singing of the Negro National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Unfortunately, Mr. Albert Richardson is not able to be with us due to illness, and so we're asking Pastor Jerry Marable of the Mount Zion Baptist Church here in Murfreesboro to lead us in that song.
May we stand together. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. God bless you.
Hi, I'm Mayor Shane McFarland. Welcome to Bradley Academy Museum and Cultural Center. This facility is one of great historical and cultural significance. The City of Murfreesboro is glad to continue operations at Bradley so the heritage of this building and the story of this community can be preserved for many generations to come.
It's a name that's played many roles in our city. Bradley Academy has been a place for learning for presidents and the African American community in the 18 and 1900s. When the building's future was bleak, a community joined together to give it a new role as a museum where visitors are still learning at Bradley today. Bradley Academy's story began not long after Rutherford County was established.
Well, Bradley Academy, the name is synonymous with education in Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. The state of Tennessee was formed in 1796. Rutherford County was formed in 1804. Murfreesboro wouldn't be around until 1811 for its founding. So Bradley actually started in 1809. Bradley's actually started out what today would be out in the county in the frontiers of Rutherford County in Tennessee. But quickly, once Murfreesboro is established in 1811, the school moves and the name comes to Murfreesboro, and they become linked at that point, early 1800 history for the city. So during the 1800s, before the war, you have a very elite, private, wealthy educational facility here. Not the only one in town, but one of the only ones in town. For that reason, you had people like James K. Polk that would come to Murfreesboro and go to school there. Or you would have John Bell, who raced against Abraham Lincoln in the 1860 election, would come through Murfreesboro and go to school there for a little while. And it's on this specific site here on South Academy Street, at least by 1830, if not before. And around 1830, they built a very nice brick structure here, and that's the structure that lasted through the Civil War up to 1917, when that building was demolished, razed to build this building, which opened in 1918.
Bradley would continue to serve as a place for learning until the mid-1800s. Following the devastation of the Civil War, it became abandoned. But soon, Bradley would take on a much more important role in our community.
By the time of the Civil War, the building was abandoned, used as a hospital during the war, a place of residence for refugees, mostly former slaves. What happens after the war is we actually pick up in the county records by 1867, 1868, the county sending people over here to take an assessment of the building to see how bad the building was, could it be reused. The story goes a little gray between the late 60s, but definitely by 1884, the building's given to the African American community to be used for education of former slaves, obviously. And at that point, Bradley becomes synonymous with not only the history of education in Murfreesboro, but now the history of African Americans in Murfreesboro, and it becomes part of Murfreesboro's historic black community. For African Americans coming out of the Civil War, where everything's in disarray, they're trying to figure out where they fit in the larger society and figure out their own society within that white realm. So Bradley school and churches become the foundations of African American communities outside of families. And so Bradley becomes very, very important. And it is from 1884 to 1955. Like I said, that original Civil War era building is demolished in 1917 to make way for this building, a brand new educational facility for African Americans. It would have been very exciting for them at that time to have this modern building for black education. And when the school opens in 1918, it takes off. Within less than 10 years, you're going to have Holloway High School built separate from this building, a couple blocks away, and Holloway would become the black high school for Murfreesboro. Bradley would become the black elementary school for Murfreesboro.
For students attending Bradley in the 1900s, the resources were scarce. Books, often with missing pages, were used by those attending the school. Teachers did not let that stop their commitment to providing a good education and an optimistic environment.
In 1944, when I began first grade under Miss Sadie Jones, it was a happy place to be, and everybody was friendly. All the teachers were happy, all the kids was happy. And one thing that we really liked about Bradley was that it wasn't a bell in the school, so Miss Lloyd had a thing called a little drummer boy. So when this little boy beat the drums in the morning, that meant it was time for school to take in. It was time for recess, and it was time for lunch. The teachers were, and you would say, willing to help the kids, because when we were going to school, we used old books from the white kids, and some of them didn't have pages in them. During this summer, the teachers would take those books and the pages that were missing out of other books, make copies so all the children would have a book. You know, we would be on the same page, but they still were eager to learn. And by the time we left here, it was only 1st to 5th grade. And all the teachers, it was 2 5th grade classes, and the 5th grade teacher, one of them was the principal, Miss Smith. And it was just a happy place, and this was the only place we had. We learned to do sports, which we had to play on the ground outside. We didn't have nothing, it wasn't any playground material, nothing but what the teachers brought for the kids to play with. But we had things, we learned to do plays, we learned to write poetry, we learned to sing songs with the music teacher, and it was just a lot of fun. Every day you look forward to it.
The Supreme Court decision Brown versus the Board of Education in 1954 eliminated segregation in our schools. A new Bradley Elementary was established soon after, and with it, the old school was once again left abandoned. It would take a number of years before Bradley's role became redefined.
After this building closes in 1955 and the students are moved out to the new Bradley School and elsewhere, the building stays vacant. But for the next several decades, it's owned by the city and used by the city for various things. At times, they're using it for storage. At times, they're using it, I think the maintenance department for the city used it as a workshop for a little while. They tried some pilot education programs here, early ideas for magnet schools. Just 1 or 2 years, my understanding.
The building was falling apart. It was something like a little eyesore because, you know, it was only maintenance. They was using the buses. The buses go down to the back. And it was a garage, so it was basically open to the back side of the building.
And so by the time you get into the 1990s, the building is severely dilapidated. And it was at that point the city was deciding what to do with the building. Is it time to take the building down? You know, it outlived its service, they thought, to definitely education, if not city needs.
As a member of the original board, I was recruited in 1985 by Daddy Willie McGowan, and other members of the community. And Daddy Will, being the enterprising person that he has always been, sought out individuals as volunteers because this was a volunteer-driven initiative. But he needed individuals who had a passion, first of all, for the quality educational experiences of the students who attended the school, but also understood that the project would take a significant period of time.
They had an opportunity to pull the community together to support the idea of Bradley Academy being part of the community again.
So, the journey to establish Bradley Academy as a historical site began. McGowan's efforts were reinforced by the community that understood how important it would be to preserve the site. Neglect of the building over the years would not make the journey an easy one.
I vividly recall walking through the building with Daddy Will and Fred Benaby and other members of the board as we began to outline a plan for how we were going to restore the building. There was this vision that was easy to follow because for the members of the board who actually attended Bradley Academy, they were committed to recreating the classrooms in honor of Mrs. Myrtle Lord, the office space, the exhibit rooms. So there was a plan in their minds that we had to put to paper. Then we recruited resources throughout the community, such as Shacklett's Photography, who had an archive of photographs for us. We recruited the Rutherford County Archives Office, who stored memorabilia for that we wanted to recreate and to position into the facility. We interviewed a lot of students who actually attended this facility, and we hosted a multitude of events so that former teachers and former students could return and share with us all of the vivid, exciting memories of their educational experiences.
They had to gut the whole building. We have pictures where they went all the way down to the foundation, and then they had to come in. One thing that they did do, and I really enjoyed, they saved the hardwood floors.
The floors that we have were redone. They are the original floors that I went to school on, and the reason is because we had a soft spot at the front door, and we didn't want to lose that wood at the front door, so they cut a place at the side, and so we started using that side door. The people that come from out of town, you know, I say families that come home that never have seen it and went to school here, they can't believe, where'd you find the desk? Where did you find this? How did you all get this?
The museum would open in the late 1990s, welcoming visitors from all over, school tours, and former students amazed at how the school was renovated. In 2015, the city of Murfreesboro would step in to play a role in helping to preserve a site so rich in history.
As a department, we are very honored to have Bradley Museum as a part of our department. It's a very historical, significant location in Murfreesboro. It's played a significant role for a lot of our citizens. We think that going forward, we'll be looking at how we actually deliver our services here at Bradley for not only our citizens, but for our tourists as well. We think it's going to be very important that we develop a museum that offers a variety of attractions, things that will bring in the local community, things that will attract people, new programs, but also it's very important that we preserve the heritage that is so significant to this building.
So what is the legacy of Bradley Academy? It served as a school where leaders were made, as a centerpiece for citizens carving out their place in the community, and a home for so many wonderful stories.
Bradley Academy is unique in that it offered, at a time that this community was segregated, it offered an opportunity for African American students to receive a quality education. Although the books may not have been updated, but we had outstanding teachers who cared and helped us to gain access to current information and skills, as well as the tools to be a part of a community unlike any other institution.
I am excited that the City of Murfreesboro, partnered with the Parks and Recs, have come in to do the day-to-day operation. I would still be here because I'm a volunteer. I tell them I don't get paid for my service. I just get enjoyment serving others. So just to tell the history of where it was before it was a museum to today, with all the improvements, I said we could go farther than where we are today.
I'm excited for the simple reason that we have somewhere that you can look back at your heritage and wonder, how did we come this far?
The importance of Bradley, the legacy of Bradley Academy and now Bradley Academy Museum and Cultural Center it's more than the building, it's more than the name, it's what it meant to people. You know, we have this over 200-year history now, going back to James K. Polk and John Bell and some of those famous early national heroes. And then after the Civil War, we got this strong commitment to African American education that lasts for 50 plus years. And so today, the legacies of Bradley are that we can still step into this building, we can step back in time and learn so much from our history, let alone a national history, and teach that to the next generation of what life used to be like, what segregation used to be like, and how much we have moved forward. So the legacy of Bradley is it's still here to educate.
Good evening. On behalf of the First Lady of MTSU, Liz McPhee, and the faculty, staff, students, and alum of this great institution, I welcome you to this 2016 banquet. I also should add that on behalf of the campus that shocked the world in basketball, we do play some basketball in Rutherford County in the city of Murfreesboro. We welcome you, special welcome to our guest speaker, Mr. Simmons from Tampa, and certainly to those who are being honored tonight. Unsung heroes that have done a remarkable job in helping to restore and preserve a treasure in this community. Our university is a significant part of this community. We enjoy a great partnership with the city and the county. We are in the business of changing lives and making a difference in the lives of this community and people that come to this university. So it's always a pleasure for us to be hosts to events like this. And I want you to know that we do appreciate each and every one of you. And congratulations again to all of the honorees. Thank you so much.
Well, good evening. I'm just honored to be here with you again. And my wife Peggy is with me as always. So I just want to say congratulations to all of you that have had a part in this renovation. And we're just honored that you're able to celebrate now 20 years, I think, since you've done that. But I've listened to what we saw on the video, and I've heard what Dr. McPhee even said there. And this is a building, and it's not all about a building, but this building has so many memories and so many treasures of things that occurred in it, and so many people that gave their lives to lead those students that were there, to try to teach them, to try to make them able to be successful. And really and truly, as you really think back on this, we just really need to appreciate what was done there and the basic fundamental understanding they had of what it takes to make people successful and what it takes to make people really be able to live together and work together and have relationships that are good together. So I really think you can think of those folks, some of you that are even here tonight that may have gone to school there. I know some of your parents that did and otherwise. The education you got, the values and principles and the standards of conduct that you learned there has made Murfreesboro and Rutherford County great. And I just want to say, really, when you think about what has happened in Murfreesboro and Rutherford County through all of this growth and through all of these years, we've really just had a blessed group of folks that have been willing to listen to each other, work together for the good of every single person. I'm just happy to have been a part of all of that, and I just thank you that have been a lot more involved than even I have been. But I just want to say thank you on behalf of all the citizens of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County that we appreciate the hard work and sacrifice and the commitment to serving God and serving others. Thank you very much.
Good evening. What a blessing God's gift of memory is. Can I get an amen? It is an honor to be with you tonight and speak on behalf of our mayor and the city council. You know, first, I want to thank you for being here to celebrate the life and memory of Mr. McGowan. Anybody that knew him knew that he had a passion for his community and for the story of Bradley and the difference that it has made in lives of our community and the quality of life of our community, and the fact that that be preserved for future generations. The original board and Mr. McGowan worked tirelessly to get us to this point in the life of Bradley Academy. And now we enter a new chapter of that as the city and our rec department partners with the Bradley Academy to continue to tell the story of Bradley Academy. It has changed our lives in the past, and it will continue to change our lives in the future. What a blessing memory is. And the fact that we celebrate that tonight. The mayor has a proclamation from our city that I'll read to you. Whereas Bradley Academy was built in 1869 as the first school for education of white males as such as James K. Polk, and in 1884 Bradley Academy became the first school designated for African American students, males and females, were allowed to attend the school. And whereas the current structure was built in 1917, Bradley closed as an all-black school in 1955 in the wake of the Brown versus Board of Education decision, and after being used for office space and storage for time, fell into disrepair and faced demolition. And whereas the supporters came together during the 1990s to restore the abandoned building and reopen it in the year 2000. Today, Bradley Academy and Museum and Cultural Center houses the original classroom, Civil War exhibit, and early settlers for the city of Murfreesboro and the county of Rutherford to exhibit. And whereas the legendary landmark has an auditorium which serves as a dining room, a theater section for musical programs and plays that seats 150 to 175 people, along with a boardroom for meetings which seat 40 to 50 people. And whereas the recent partnership with the city of Murfreesboro will ensure Bradley Academy's legacy will continue for many years to come. Now, therefore, I, Shane McFarland, Mayor of the City of Murfreesboro, do hereby proclaim Saturday, March 26th, as the day for all citizens to recognize Bradley Academy as a museum and cultural center, and ask all the citizens of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County to join in recognition as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of its restoration. That on behalf of our council and Mayor, and I'm not sure who I present that to, but we'll make sure somebody gets it. But we also have a recognition. Mr. Simmons, if you'll come up here. Got a presentation on behalf of this council. By the way, we had an opportunity to chat. Called me when I found out that he was going to be speaking. We had a wonderful conversation. I think you're in for a treat tonight. On behalf of the council and mayor, a key to our city.
Let me just say thank you, and I sure hope this will work if I need it.
Well, I'm not sure what it'll get you into, but it's a nice memory.
Okay, thank you so very much.
You bet.
Good evening. Great to be with you tonight. What an outstanding night this is going to be. Congratulations to all the honorees. I just want to let you know Senator Ketron's not able to be with us tonight. He was under the weather, so I'll be representing him tonight. And I do, it's just great to be, as Mayor Burgess said and Councilman Shackley, that, in a community with the heritage of Bradley Academy that now it's going to be preserved where people can go. I do have a Tennessee Senate joint resolution, and it's to honor and recognize Bradley Academy Museum and Cultural Center on the 20th anniversary of its restoration. And the General Assembly takes great pleasure in paying tribute to an iconic structure that tells a fascinating story of the history of African American education in our state. And whereas the current Bradley Academy structure was built in 1917, Bradley Academy closed as an all-black school in 1955 in the wake of Brown versus Board of Education. Whereas Willie McGowan, known as the father of Bradley Academy Historical Association, spearheaded a movement of former students, teachers, and community supporters to restore the abandoned building in the mid-1990s. Whereas today, Bradley Academy Museum and Cultural Center houses an original classroom, Civil War exhibit, an exhibit focused on early settlers of the city of Murfreesboro and the county of Rutherford. And whereas the legendary landmark has an auditorium which serves as a dining area, a theater section for musical programs and plays that seats between 150 and 175 people, and a boardroom for meetings which seats at least 40 to 50 people. Whereas Bradley County, now operated by the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department, that its recent partnership with the city of Murfreesboro will ensure that Bradley Academy's legacy will continue for many, many years to come. Be it resolved by the Senate of the 109th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the House of Representatives concurring that we honor and recognize Bradley Academy Museum and Cultural Center on the 20th anniversary of its restoration, reflecting on its important role in education of African Americans and its historical legacy. And this is a Senate joint resolution. It's signed by myself, Senator Bill Ketron, Speaker Ron Ramsey, Speaker Beth Harwell, and Governor Bill Haslam. And thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you all for your greetings. At this time, we'll have the introduction of our speaker by Dr. Gloria Bonner.
We are in for a treat. Mr. James Oscar Simmons. Mr. Simmons, you may be the only graduate from Holloway High School that every class claims as their classmate. If you ask the class of 1953, they will say that he graduated with them. But if you ask the class of 1954, they will say that he graduated with them. I even asked people who didn't graduate from Holloway High School, and they said he graduated with them. So guess what? I stopped asking because everybody claims Mr. Simmons as their classmate and role model. But that's because everybody wanted to be like Mr. Oscar, because of his charismatic personality and his endearing sense of family and community. In your program, you have an impressive biographical summary of Mr. Oscar Simmons and his many, many professional accomplishments throughout his amazing career. It's just a summary because there's no way that we could possibly include everything on that one 8.5 by 11 document. And as you can tell, Mr. Oscar's accomplishments have spoken more loudly than any praise that I could possibly give him here tonight. As you read it, you cannot help but be proud. And you know that his family is extremely proud. Just like his classmates, his 3rd Ward family and his 6th Ward family all said that they grew up with Mr. Oscar. But to settle that argument, I'd like to ask all of his family that's in attendance tonight to please stand. They have come from everywhere throughout the United States. Could Mr. Oscar Simmons' family please stand? Thank you so much. So I want to speak, instead of reading his impressive biographical summary, I want to speak to Mr. Oscar Simmons as a humanitarian. He's a man of great foresight, integrity, and passion for building community. He's also a man who is strategic at maintaining that delicate balance between the best of the latest best practices while not forgetting the significance of the past. I am proud to call him the patriarch of the Morris Hunter family, the Roper brothers family, remember Daddy Rufus, and the Avant family. But most importantly, he has always been a leader. Mr. Oscar has been a role model. He has been a mentor. And most of all, he has always been a friend in the truest sense of the word, and the proudest baby brother of Miss Myrtle Hazel ever. At this time, I am humbled and privileged to introduce an extraordinary human being, Mr. James Oscar Simmons. Please help me to welcome him as our keynote speaker this evening. I bet he's never been introduced in that way.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I would like to thank Dr. Gloria Bonner for that warm, moving introduction of me here this evening. And I would be remiss if I did not introduce and thank Ms. Katie Wilson for her tenacious drive to get me here this evening, because I first told her I was committed, and I was, to other engagements. But she stayed with it. And she put me in a position that I just could not turn my hometown down. So here I am. And I want to thank Dr. McPhee for hosting this affair here this evening at Middle Tennessee State University. One of the gentlemen at my table asked me, had I been on this campus before? I didn't give him a real good answer. I said, yeah, I've been on it before, but that was it. I dropped it right there. But Dr. McPhee, it's special to be here this evening for me in this position as a keynote speaker. You see, in 1950, going into my first year at Holloway, I worked here at MTSU. Dr. Bonner, where did you go to? No, I was not working for the president's office. I was working in the as a dishwasher and janitor in the cafeteria. So I have been on this campus before. I don't want you to laugh at it because that job was extremely important to me. It helped me to get the clothing and other necessities as I went into Holloway. But my being here this evening in this particular capacity just shows you how far that I have come. From that dishwasher and janitor, it had a fringe benefit. I did get a meal if they served one during the time that I was on duty. So I appreciated that. But let me attempt to do what I was asked to do when I was invited to come here and speak this evening. And they asked me to be brief, and I'm going to try to do just that because there's a lot more going on after I sit down. But I want to start off with just recognizing the teachers that we had at Bradley. They urged and motivated us students to study hard and do our homework. They all explained that education was something no one could take away from you. Once you got it, that could carry you a mighty long way. So I think that paid off, certainly in my case. And I thank the teachers of Bradley for that, and of course Holloway as well. Additionally, I strongly remember how the students had to respect our teachers. It was drilled into us by our parents, who also had a high regard for our teachers. In those days, our parents came in contact with our teachers on a regular basis at churches, shopping, attending school activities, or other community events, and etc. So you see, we children had only one of two choices. They either respect and mind our teachers or run away from home. Noteworthy is a thing that I remember well, and that is the fact that during my entire period at Bradley, no teacher turned over. My being at Bradley was similar to being taught by a family member or a close family friend. So the stability was there. Now, this is one that I think anyone who went to Bradley will recognize. My major pleasure that I remember experiencing at Bradley was being promoted from the 3rd to the 4th grade. You see, when I was promoted to the 4th grade, we got to go upstairs for our classes. That was major to all of us students because it made us feel as though we were a part of the big kids on campus, no longer those babies on the first floor, see? So please, whoever's in charge of the facility that's still standing, never remove the stairs. They mean so much to so many of us who attended Bradley Academy. Now, while I knew and respected all of the teachers, I must admit that when I was promoted to the 4th grade, I was initially assigned to Miss Bertha Green's class. On the first day, Miss Bertha, as we call her, spent the entire first period telling us how things were going to be in her class and threatening those who did not obey. One of her favorite sayings was, "Walk or talk," which meant if she called on you, you were to stand and answer the question. If you didn't know the answer, you had to walk up front to her desk where she took your hand, bent it back, and paddled you in the hand. You see, Miss Bertha equated you not knowing the answer to the question to you not doing your homework. So that was extremely important. On the second day, while I was there in Miss Bertha's class, the principal, Miss Piccola Smith, came into the room and called a group of the students out and transferred them across the hall to Miss Lily Bell Whitaker's classroom due to Miss Bertha's class being overcrowded. I was in the group that got transferred. I think that was the day that I got religion. You see, I was terrified of Miss Bertha and her reputation. Miss Lily Bell's reputation was just the opposite. She was sweet, kind, and loved by all of the students. Let's move over to responsibility. Along with teaching us our academic subjects, we were all taught what responsibility meant. We were given assignments to help us understand responsibility. I was selected, along with a fellow classmate, the name of James Scott, to carry the milk cartons from the curbside drop-off point in front of Bradley up to the cafeteria on the second floor and return the empty bottles back to the drop-off platform after lunch. So you see, so the milk truck could pick them up. I just think how upset the entire student body would have been if they did not have the milk to drink with their lunches. That is real responsibility that was placed on James Scott and myself. I was also selected to serve as a member of the school safety patrol. Our job was to get the students safely across the heavily traveled streets as they came and went to and from school. Again, responsibility. Oh yes, I realized those of you who were in Murfreesboro in the late 40s and early 50s are probably thinking, what heavy traffic? However, I stand by my 6th grade assessment. Remember, one of the major north-south highways, Highway 41, ran right through the city of Murfreesboro, which included a part of Manor Avenue. My assigned crossing was Manor Avenue at State Street. So I rest my case. Additionally, in the 6th grade, I participated in a school poster drawing contest. Our drawings, which included Bradley and Holloway High School students competing, were submitted to the school board judges for their final decision. My drawing won 2nd prize and was displayed in the window of Frank Martin's drugstore located on the square here in Murfreesboro for one full month. I was very proud of that award because the only student in this system for African American students that beat me out was a high school junior. His first place prize was also exhibited in a storefront on the square in Murfreesboro. Now, I could go on with a lot of other things that we experienced here at Bradley when I was here, but time just will not permit. Because as I said when I got up here, that there's quite a bit that's going to follow this presentation. So let me just say to you that this is my 2nd opportunity to be here in Murfreesboro in a similar capacity. I was here to participate on behalf of Holloway High School a scholarship fundraiser, which was held at Riverdale High School in the cafeteria there. However, this evening is all about Bradley. Therefore, I will confine my final remarks to Bradley. Bradley closed as an all-black school in 1955 in the wake of the Brown versus the Board of Education decision, and after being used for office space and storage for a time, Bradley fell in disrepair, and we've talked about that, and you saw it on the video screen. It was slated to be demolished. That's when Mr. Willie McGowan, known as the father of the Bradley Academy Historical Association, spearheaded a movement to form students, teachers, and community support to restore the abandoned building. Additional, with the assurance that Mr. John Bradley's name and legacy will live on through the new Bradley Academy, no harm will be done to Mr. Bradley's legacy or his generosity when he donated the land where the first Bradley school, being a log cabin, was built. So tonight, I'm going to seize this opportunity after being an Urban League president for 29 years, starting the affiliate in St. Petersburg, Florida. And the Urban League, those of you who know anything about it, realize that we are about equal opportunity, fairness, and justice for all. So tonight, I'm calling on the Bradley Board, politicians, Murfreesboro City officials, lawyers, pastors and their congregation, teachers, Elk Lodge members, American Legion, and others to support and work to change the name of the building at 415 South Academy Street to the Willie A. McGowan Black History Museum. Mr. Bradley's legacy will live on through the new school that carries his name, so that will not be diminished in a way. It does not change the history of Bradley. It will always stand as presented tonight and as is. And so I think that for Mr. McGowan's foresight, and we, the city, has already recognized him as the father of the museum, that the building should bear his name. I think he deserves no less, so I cannot understand why we, the city of Murfreesboro, can do any less than changing the name of the school building, which is no longer a school building, it's a museum, the Willie McGowan African American Museum. It would give Mr. McGowan the proper recognition that he deserves. We're here for 20 years and we're talking about him every year. I think that the name of the front of the building should bear his name. I'm fortunate enough to have the building that I purchased with the board's support in St. Petersburg, Florida, which bears my name, the James O. Simmons Equal Opportunity Building. And I have a park named in my honor in Hillsborough County, Tampa, Florida. The reason being, I got the land donated from a construction company, Cohn Brothers, turned it into a nice community park. The reason I took that on as a challenge is when I was the president of the Civic Council is because we had a young resident of the community drowned in that pond. So we got the city, the county in this particular case, to come in, drain it, clean out all of the cattails and whatnot that was overgrown in the water, turn it into a first-class park, and the community voted to name it in my honor. And I thank for the work that Mr. McGowan did by pulling the right people together. And I'm not naive. I'm by no stretch of any imagination do I think Willie McGowan did everything to save Bradley. He had the foresight, and he had the foresight to bring surround himself with the right people to help him get the job done. So an awful lot of people, and many of them in this room right here tonight, that helped Mr. McGowan get accomplish his objective. And it was successful. The building is standing, it's beautiful. I was there last evening. And, but my belief is simply that if he is the father of the museum, without changing one thing other than some legal paperwork, and any attorneys in the building will know that that's not the major task. That can be done. Nobody's talking about changing the history. Nobody's talking about doing anything to diminish Mr. Bradley's legacy by starting the first school, the log cabin, going on and donating the land that is on. Bradley's name has moved with about 5 different times on different buildings. So there's nothing wrong with changing the building's name. The legacy of the gentleman, Mr. Bradley, will live on through the new Bradley Academy. And to me, it just seems the logical thing to do is to change the name of the museum. That'll give Mr. McGowan the recognition I personally feel that he deserves, and I hope there are many of you here that agree with me. It will also give our young boys and girls, African American boys and girls, a source of pride to point to and take their friends and out-of-town visitors to see and talk about the history of the African Americans in this community. We have one major properties named after an African American. That's Dr. Patterson. I knew Dr. Patterson very well. My home was right across the street from his office for many years. I drove him around to Dillon conventions and to visit his friends and whatnot. I even took his wife up to Woodbury to get her driving license, Mrs. Patterson, because she couldn't pass the test in Murfreesboro. So we got to Woodbury, and the car, it wasn't automatic in those days. The car jumped around the courthouse up there in Woodbury. But when the patrolman saw that there was a doctor, in this case a dentist, who and he asked, who's the dentist? Mrs. Patterson said, that's my husband, and I'm a teacher in Murfreesboro. So he felt that was the same risk to take, so he gave her the license. So I take credit for getting her to Woodbury, getting her a driving license. And you all had the foresight to name the Patterson Park after Dr. Patterson, a gentleman that used to pick me up as a kid and take me to Sunday school at the First Baptist Church, pastor. And I've been a member of the First Baptist Church many, many years, and I want you to clearly understand that my remarks are not in idleness. I'm just in here recommending changes and things of that sort. I'm a paid-up member of the American Legion here in Murfreesboro. I support Bradley. Every time I would come in and out, I would make sure that I would donate $100 to help keep the doors open before the city took it over. And I'm glad to know that they did, because my cousin, Colonel Willie Roper, we were in the process of trying to write grants to help them get some money to continue the development of Bradley. But with the city taking it over, that's a major relief to the community. So it just seems logical that the next step that we should take with the pride for the person who did the most, with the foresight, the building's name should be changed to Willie Alfred McGowan. So please change the name. It can be done. Thank you for your attention.
We want to thank you, Mr. Simmons, for the presentation. We want to thank Katie Wilson also for her resilience in twisting your arm to make sure you could get here. If you'd come back up for one moment, I want to present you with the plaque. Yes, sir. Plaque reads, Bradley Academy Museum and Cultural Center, presented to James Oscar Simmons, Bradley Academy, Holloway High School graduate, founder of the Pinellas County Urban League, St. Petersburg, Florida. In appreciation as our 2016 Willie McGowan Banquet speaker, and for years of service to our community, our museum and the community, Bradley Academy Museum and Cultural Center, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, James Union Building, Middle Tennessee State University, March 26th, 2016. Thank you again
Thank you so
for
very
being
much.
with us.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you all.
At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Fred Beneby if he would come up. For those that don't know, Mr. Beneby was one of the original board members of the Bradley Academy Historical Association. And at this time, we want to recognize our honorees for this evening. Our first honoree is Mr. Robert B. Mifflin of the Christy Houston Foundation. The Christy Houston Foundation was chartered as a private foundation May 26, 1986. The foundation is named in honor of Mr. Simeon B. Christy, the chairman of the founding board of directors of Rutherford Hospital, a not-for-profit private hospital later to become Middle Tennessee Medical Center, and now St. Thomas Rutherford, and Mr. Frank K. Houston, who was the largest contributor to the hospital. The mission statement of the Christy Houston Foundation is to enhance the quality of life in Rutherford County, Tennessee, with emphasis on health care, through distribution of its grant resources to programs and projects that will accomplish such enhancement. To date, the foundation has distributed approximately $100 million in grants to local charities, with the largest amount of funds going to assisting improvements to our hospital, MTSU, and city and county projects. Mr. Robert B. Mifflin became the president of the foundation in November 1999 and is currently the president. It is our honor to recognize you this evening. The Christy Houston Foundation.
Thank you.
Would you like to say any words?
What, about an hour's worth, would you say?
Preferably 5 minutes.
I would like to say that we're very proud of the grant that was made 20 years ago to Bradley Academy. There is no more historical place in Murfreesboro and Rutherford County that I'm aware of, and y'all are to be blessed for what you did for this community, Fred. And I couldn't help but notice that the other two that were primarily involved with you at the first are no longer here. I wouldn't want to embarrass too many men here tonight, but I'd love if they'd hold their hand up if Myrtle Lord ever got a hold of them over there at the school. I bet there's several here, maybe a woman or two, but I bet there were plenty of men. Right, Fred? Right. Yeah, right. Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
Our second honoree this evening is Shacklett's Photography. Shacklett's Photography, located on the square here in Murfreesboro, has been a part of our business community for many years. The business was started by Richard Shacklett in 1937 before he graduated from high school. After serving in World War II, Dick and wife, Jenny, settled into raising a family and operating Shacklett's. For more than 75 years, Shacklett's has work to record, restore, and maintain the visual record of families in our community. Shacklett's Photography is a cornerstone in our community, and the cornerstone of their business has always been customer service and developing long-term relationships with their clients. With the changes and improvements in technology, Shacklett's is dedicated to providing the best in photographic and media services to our community. It is our honor this evening to celebrate and recognize Shacklett's Photography.
Well, we just appreciate the honor, and we're so glad to have, it just doesn't seem like it's been 20 years, though, Kenita and all of our friends. I mean, I just can't believe it's been 20 years. But what a special place Bradley is in the community, and we're just glad to be a part of it, me and my brother. Thank you.
And I just want to say thanks to my mom and dad for the legacy that they, at a very young age, instilled in Gloria and I an appreciation of our community and established relationships with so many minorities in our community, our friends, your family. And I just can't tell you how much we appreciate the friendships that we have throughout the community and what it's meant to our lives. So thank you to Mom and Dad, and thank you to you.
Our next two honorees are from the MTSU Center for Historic Preservation. The first of the two is Dr. Carol Van West, the director of this center. Dr. Carol Van West currently serves as Tennessee State Historian. He's the co-chair of the Tennessee Civil War Sesquicentennial Commission and is director of the Tennessee Civil War National Heritage Area. Dr. West's research interests lie in the 19th and 20th century Southern and Western history, as well as architecture and material culture. West has directed to completion over 80 MA theses and PhD dissertations of the MTSU graduate students in history, historic preservation, and public history. A native of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, West holds a BA from MTSU, a master's degree in history from the University of Tennessee, and a doctorate in history from the College of William and Mary. Join me in welcoming our third honoree, Dr. Carol Van West. Congratulations. Thank you, man. So much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming in support of this project. But I would be remiss if I really didn't acknowledge Dr. Jim Huda, who was the director of the center when this project got underway. And he worked so closely not only with the committee, but Congressman Bart Gordon and countless other folks to help you make it happen. And it was just our pleasure to take on different parts of it. I worked on the National Register nomination. My colleague, Kenita Hankins, she did all the heavy lifting on this project, and she deserves, every accolade y'all can ever give her for doing this. But then, being a local guy, I just have to say how proud we are at the university and at the center for what you've done with it. You turned this abandoned building into a beacon of hope and truth. And nowadays, we need beacons like that because we have a sad situation in our nation where citizens have to say, hey, our lives matter. And I hope that here in Murfreesboro, we don't fall prey to some of the darkness of this time and can be like this campus here, where you don't have to apologize if you're black. You don't have to apologize if you're brown. You don't have to apologize if you're white. We know we built this city together. We build a nation together. So Bradley just is such an important place and a beacon to us all. So thank you for your support.
Our next honoree is Miss Kenita Hankins. Ms. Kenita Hankins is an MTSU alumnus. She was with the MTSU Center for Historic Preservation from 1984 until 2013. Worked with heritage organizations, local history teaching materials development, farmland preservation, grant writing, and on-the-job student training were constants along with research and writing. Hankins worked primarily in the state's 95 counties, but also in other states and in Ireland and England. Along with Bradley Academy, Kenita enjoyed her involvement in many productive local partnerships, including the Main Street Walking Tour brochure, Arbors to Bricks, 100 Years of African American Education in Rutherford County, Tennessee, with Rosemary Owens and Laura Jarman. Oakland's Association 1993 edition of Hearthstones, the story of Rutherford County homes, with photographs by C. Van West and the Heritage Center. It is truly an honor and a privilege this evening to recognize our next honoree, Ms. Kenita Hankins.
Good evening. It's very good to be back on MTSU campus and in Murfreesboro and to see so many familiar faces. I wonder if Miss Ernestine Tucker is here. Is she? Okay. Because of Ms. Ernestine in those early days when we were working, those beautiful photographs that you saw tonight came to light. She looked through her collection and also asked other people to find them, and those have been used and used to tell the history of Bradley Academy. Along with Dr. Jim Huda and Bart Gordon and the Christy Houston Foundation, and so many of you, it has been a pleasure to see Bradley Academy arise from those ashes and sit up there on that hill. Every time I come to Murfreesboro, it just makes me so proud of what you and the community have done and continue to do. It's a wonderful symbol sitting up there, and it was my great honor and privilege to be a part of that. Thank you so much.
Our final two honorees this evening are from the MTSU History Department. Unfortunately, Dr. James Beebe is not able to be with us this evening. However, Dr. Brendan Martin is with us, and he will be accepting both awards. Dr. James Beebe is an historian of the U.S. South since 1865, with interests in Southern politics, race relations, and the intersection of the race class and the era of Jim Crow. His research focuses on the populist movement of the Gilded Age with a special interest in grassroots political culture, African Americans and politics, and the rise of legalized segregation and disenfranchisement. Dr. Brendan Martin, who's a history professor at the wonderful MTSU here in Murfreesboro, upon whose campus we sit tonight, is the professor in the Department of History in the College of Liberal Arts. He's in his 11th year of teaching, research, and community service at Middle Tennessee State University. He earned both the Bachelor's of Arts and Master's of Arts degrees in history from MTSU. He received his PhD in history from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. His areas of expertise include heritage tourism, museum studies, and the United States South. It is our privilege to present both of you this evening with this honor. Thank you so much.
What an honor and a privilege this is. And, you know, I feel very blessed to have this recognition for whatever small role that I've played in helping with the development of Bradley Academy. But I must say that the real honorees are all of the people, all of the volunteers, all of the board members over the years who have really built this place. And if I could recognize in particular Nancy Vaughn and YT, where are you guys? Okay, yes. Katie Wilson and Florence Smith, Addie Woods, among a number of other people, my friends at the Center for Historic Preservation. There are so many people that put so much time and effort and love into this organization. Mr. Blackman, among, again, so many people have been a part of this. And again, I feel so humbled to be recognized in this respect. So thank you very much.
A special thanks to everyone for being here. Let us not forget, this is Women's History Month, and as you can see, to be successful in any kind of project, if you don't have the women behind you, forget it. And I'm eternally grateful to them because my wife allowed me to participate with this project. But in the interest of time, and I know many of you want to go to sunrise service and all of that, I am going to speak, by the way, so don't get too happy. But I want to say this, and I appreciate MTSU allowing us to use this facility. And Dr. McPhee and I sort of have a bonding, and he knows what I'm talking about. But I do bring you greetings from southern parts of the Bahamas. They all know you there, and we're all proud of you. But most of all, I want to recognize those unsung heroes who have passed. I don't think we have given them enough credit for how they really made me the kind of a person I have. I was here for 15 years, and from the time I came here until the time I left, it was all about Bradley. And the reason for that is that my parents, who are Bahamian immigrants, taught us one thing. You're not put on this earth to be a spectator or to complain. You get involved. And I often think about an old James Brown tune that said, get involved. But more than that, I want to recognize those persons who had a great impact on me while I was here. And my daughter warned me as she talked to me later, said, Dad, you know you got long-winded. But I think it's important that we recognize those persons who have gone on before us. The first one is Dora Rucker. When I first came to Murfreesboro, on my way to see her, she said to Fred, I'm going to give you 20 names of persons who I think can help with this project, but don't you go any further with this until you see Will McGowan. And since they lived on the same street, I walked down there. She said, go and see Willie Alford. I didn't realize that in this part of the country, they call you by your first and middle names. So I went down and asked, is Mr. Alford here? And he said, I don't know anybody by that name. So he said, my name is Will McGowan. And from that day on, we had a wonderful relationship. I call him the godfather of Bradley because he has done so much to help me to realize that Murfreesboro is the kind of a city that welcomes people of all races. And you know, the Bradley Project really, in a sense, brought a lot of us together. When nothing else was working, all of us came together, red, white, black, brown, to make this project a success. Another person I want to mention is Myrtle Lord. Myrtle and I became good friends because she had a great amount of interest in education, of which I was very proud to hear. Myrtle often, the times when Sam Jackson and I would be down there at Bradley, cutting the yard, picking up the trash, and doing different things. We did that once a week. Myrtle would bring us orange juice and water and tell us to stay hydrated. That was one of the things I remember. But not only that, she said, stay the course. We're going to get this done. I didn't believe it then, but as you know, it happened. The next person that I want to recognize who's passed on, most of these people I'm talking about are gone. They're with us, if not in body and spirit. Was a young lady by the name of Nancy Smotherman. When you went into that old building van, the first person you saw was Nancy at the top of the stairs. Now here's what really impressed me. She said, good morning, gentlemen. How can I help you? So all of those strange things they were saying about the South were not true. That really impressed me. But then she introduced us to Dr. Huda, I think it was Ed Johnson, and then Kenita Hankins. Now, let me just tell you something. Without her, we couldn't have gotten off the ground floor. And I say this with all honesty. We leaned on her a bit too much, but she was very, very helpful. The next person is, believe it or not, a young lady that worked for the city of Murfreesboro school system, Golina Rucker Bell. Now, what part did she play? Well, first of all, she opened the door for me and others to have an opportunity to meet with, I believe at that time was the superintendent of schools, I believe was Ms. Who. But see, nobody knows, but it'll come to me in a minute. She said, Fred, if you're going to go out and represent the community in Bradley, you've got to make sure you have everything in line. You can't go out and write anything. She would very quietly write for me to make sure that I made the right kinds of presentations. But another thing she did I thought was very important. She said, I want to be a part of your publicity committee. Quiet, unassuming, but a great person to work with. The other person that I want to mention is State Representative John Bragg. Now, what he did was kind of strange. I was at my yard working, and I saw this gentleman come, fine gentleman. I want to talk to you, Fred. I hear that you guys need some help. He said, I'm Representative John Bragg. Here's a $1,200 check. I know this is not a lot, but we're going to continue to work to get you more money. Nice guy, drove all the way out there. He said, when you meet with your publicity committee, you just let them know that help is coming on the way. Walter Alexander, with his quiet demeanor and hard-working attitude, driving 40 miles, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, coming from Woodbury, he was a stabilizing force. When we had disagreements, he was the one person that always stepped in and made sure that we stayed the course. Good man, he's no longer with us, but he was great for us. Another person that I really enjoyed, many of you probably ran away from him when you saw him, was Walter Lyons. I'm sorry, can talk a lot, but if you listen to him, there was wisdom in his voice, and he walked me through every bit of everything that happened at Bradley, which made me feel so good just to talk to him. But he also was one of the first African-American disc jockeys in this community. He was known as Mr. Bebop, and some of you here may have remembered him, but he was a pioneer in that area. And another thing that Walter told me was he was one of the original drummer boys. And he said to get that honor, I think Oscar was a great thing as far as what they told me. But don't forget that we had thespians that finished at Old Bradley, poets. My father-in-law has written so many poems, and we're going to donate those to Old Bradley, by the way. Also, I want all of you to know that we're going to have to come together as a team. It was a team effort when we started, and if the fact is that some of you probably said, oh, I didn't finish Bradley, and I hear this a lot. Why should I be involved? You're involved because the whole world is Bradley. I'm an emotional person because I get tired of hearing people say, why should I? Well, why shouldn't you? There's a song was written by a country and western star that I like, George Jones, and I spoke to Kenita about him earlier. And the song he wrote in 1985 or 86 was called, Who's Gonna Fill Their Shoes? And of course, my famous philosopher singer, James Brown, that says, like a dull knife cutting nothing and talking loud and saying nothing. Now, we have an opportunity to stop leaning on others to do for ourselves what we can do. If every person in here tonight decide that they want to join, become a member of Old Bradley, just think about how much that's going to help us. The wonderful work that was done by Nate on the video was outstanding. And I think that clears up a lot of things. Excuse me for my emotion, but if you worked as hard as I did on Bradley, you'd be the same way. But it's wonderful, it's great. I appreciate all of you. And I got to get back to Florida because my wife said to me, when are you coming home? But I want to tell you this, in regards to my family and everyone, we appreciate you, Murfreesboro. You've been kind to me. You love me like a son, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
I do want to apologize to you. I left off one honoree, the E.A. Davis Lodge, 1138, Rebecca Carney Temple, number 798 of the Elks Lodge. Fraternal organizations proved popular among African Americans for the same reason that they proved popular among other Americans, providing financial, spiritual, and emotional aid. They were invaluable to the communities that they served. One such organization is the Improved Benevolent and Protective Order of the Elks of the World. Currently boasting 500,000 members in over 1,500 lodges worldwide, the IBPOEW is the largest black fraternal organization in the world. The IBPOEW's stated purpose is that the welfare and happiness of its members be promoted and enhanced, the nobleness of soul and goodness of heart be cultivated, that the principles of charity, justice, brotherless and sisterly love, and fidelity be inculcated, that its members and their families be assisted and protected, and that the spirit of patriotism be enlivened and exalted. It is with honor that we celebrate the E.A. Davis Lodge, number 1138, and Rebecca Carney Temple, number 798.
I would just like to say that the temple really appreciate this award, and we have worked dearly to help Bradley as much as we can. So we said thank you, thank you.
Good evening. On behalf of the E.A. Davis Lodge number 1138, our exalted ruler / president is absent tonight, and it caught me off guard. But saying that they needed a sponsor at that time when Bradley became be renovated. So by the Fred Beneby, along with W.A. McGowan, also Edward Blackman, Joe Robertson, and Walt Alexander was appointed as a committee, not board, by yours truly, exalted ruler / president emeritus. So don't want to get it confused. You don't want to be that bad apple to try to tear down things when you see successes going on. But that's what the whole project, it was a committee set up by the E.A. Davis Elks Lodge. Don't like to say Elks Lodge because it was the Elks Club. And you know what you do at the clubs. Everybody on the high level. So on behalf of the E.A. Davis Lodge, we want to say thank you, and we appreciate all the endeavors. And so far as the members of the E.A. Davis Lodge and Rebecca Carney Temple is all present. Anyone? You out there? Okay. Thank you.
We have several special recognitions that we want to make tonight. We're going to ask that they would come as swiftly as possible once their names are called. They'll each receive a plaque that says Bradley Academy Museum and Cultural Center, presented to, in this case, Steve Matthews, local artist, in appreciation for the years of service to the museum and to our community. Bradley Academy Museum and Cultural Center, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. James Union Building, Middle Tennessee State University, March 26th, 2016. At this time, we'll ask that Mr. Steve Matthews come forward. We'll ask at this time Mr. Edward Shannon Blackman if he would come at this time. Judge Larry Brandon. Councilman Ron Washington. Let us stand and give a hand to these individuals that also played a significant role in Bradley Academies. This time we'll ask Dr. Gloria Bonner to come with closing remarks. And she'll be followed by Pastor Jerry Marable, who will provide our benediction for the evening.
Councilman Washington, there are so many people who are responsible for the success of this evening's event. And there's so many that we can't possibly begin to call them by name. I do, however, want to thank the Willie McGowan family. Could you please stand? Thank you. Thank you. And Pastor McCarroll, how can we possibly thank you for your leadership and your generosity, along with all of the program participants, for the success of this evening? To each of our elected officials, thank you. And our community leaders, thank you. And we want you to know how very much we appreciate your tremendous service to the great community of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. I would also like to acknowledge the members of the 2016 steering committee for this event. Their names are listed on the back of the program, but I need them to stand because we've worked together for so long throughout this process that we have become relatives. Could you please stand? And to our wonderful audience, thanks to each of you for your support and your attendance tonight. And since we do have 6 o'clock sunrise service tomorrow morning, Pastor Steve Odom, we want each of them to be able to go home at this time. Please drive safely. Thank you so much for a great evening.